Warning. There will be offensive depictions of Asian people in this video. These clips and images are for educational purposes only. Orientalism is a theory created by Professor Edward Said in the 70s. The basic idea is that the stereotype of Asian people that we have is not something inherent to them, but an image created by Europeans. This image has been passed down from decade to decade, whether it was war propaganda in the 40s, or an Asian character in a movie.
You cannot go on or keep ringing my bell. You disturb me.
This image that's been created has been used and reused to either represent or make fun of Asian individuals due to malice or just plain ignorance. Around the same time as Said's theory, in the early 70s, Marvel created the character Shang-Chi. It was their first Asian superhero. The first design played into some of those stereotypes, basically making him look like martial artist Bruce Lee. He was a ripped Asian character that fit what America viewed Asian heroes to look like. He was eventually cleaned up and given a more traditional Chinese-inspired costume and was seen donning more ethnically neutral clothes. In 2021, the character had its on-screen debut to decent success. Let's see how the movie deals with these ideals of Orientalism. The character definitely doesn't have his old, more stereotypical look. For the most part, Sean dons a very ethnically neutral costume, consisting of a jacket and pants. Towards the final battle, he then gets a more modern, comic-accurate costume. I'd say Marvel did a good job of avoiding any Western stereotypes of what an Asian person dresses like. When Sean dons his more Chinese-inspired costume at the end, it could be argued that he's not only embracing his role as a hero, but also embracing his roots, which in the story he was running away from. The story involves Sean running away from his father and his militaristic training in search of a more normal life after his mother is killed. He's then called back to China by his father because he thinks that his mother's still alive and in danger. The story should sound familiar to anyone who's familiar with the concept of the hero's journey in mythology. It has the call to action, the training, the final battle, the works. This is a very common story for one of these Marvel movies, and I think putting an Asian character into this role is a net positive. It's fantastic for someone to see an Asian person going through the same trials and triumphs as Iron Man or Thor or Captain America, and he isn't treated any differently than these characters because of his ethnicity. The story revolves around family, which is a very important value in a lot of cultures, but is heavily related to Asian cultures. The movie handles it with class though, discussing the conflicts of wanting to be a part of your family, but also running away from it, an issue that anyone can relate to. Sean is seen running to America, so it stands to reason that he doesn't have much of an accent. This was probably a smart move, as it eliminates the chance of being seen as stereotyping or the actor Simu Liu overacting to appeal to what Westerners think an Asian person should sound like.
4 scorpion ball in 5 minutes? That's gotta be a restaurant record.
The actors that have accents, for the most part, sound very natural and don't play into any discussed stereotypes. The character of Sean is a bit of an everyman. He's strong, but a bit goofy, and can be a wisecracker. He's kind, but has an angry side. Sean's character is missing a bit of the depth that, say, Tony Stark has, but it is only his first movie, and the film does delve into more of his emotional backstory and how he's dealing with it. We interact with his best friend Katie and her family earlier in the film, and we tiptoe into a bit of stereotyping with the grandmother rushing Katie to get married.
你们啥时候结婚啊？
外婆，我们只是朋友。
But it can be argued that this is more of an older generation thing rather than an Asian thing. In fact, this movie breaks a lot of tropes by having Sean and Katie remain best friends as opposed to getting together. The villain is Sean's father, Wen Wu. He shows elements of a stereotypical Asian father, but as a very three-dimensional character. His motivations are more than just keeping tradition. He's a stern man, but he cares a lot for his family, especially his wife. His motivation is explored fully and is very understandable. It's reminiscent of villain characters with a lot of depth, like Killmonger from Black Panther. Now this is where the film really shines. The film's fight scenes were coordinated by Andy Chang, a Hong Kong-born actor and fight coordinator. The fight scenes are a perfect representation of Kung Fu on the big screen. It's so smooth and edited so well. You can tell that it's very much inspired by Jackie Chan's action movies, which makes sense because Andy Chang worked on both Rush Hour movies. It's great because the fighting in this movie isn't a big Marvel executive's idea of what Kung Fu should look like. Rather, it's a China-born, seasoned veteran fight coordinator's vision of Kung Fu. While Shang-Chi isn't a perfect representation, it's a darn near close one. It puts an Asian character into the Marvel hero's journey and doesn't rely on harmful stereotypes to tell its story. It's a step in the right direction for Asian viewers to see someone who looks like them in the same shoes as Captain America and Spider-Man. We've definitely come a long way since Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's or Warner Brothers doing war propaganda, and it can only get better from here.